It is episode 7, lucky 7, of the Grim Gazette. I am your host, T. Morris. I represent OSI, Old Spirits Investigations. We actually have our 3rd season of paranormal investigation coming up very soon. It's going to be in April. In April, we are going to have an OSI weekend. It's going to be on April 12th, the premiere, which is part 1 of our investigation in Charleston, South Carolina. Then on April 13th, we are going to be having at least one live investigation on Twitch and YouTube. There might be a second one, but we're kind of working the details on that. And then when I get back from Clifton Forge, we are going to be going live again, Twitch and YouTube, and we're just going to have a sit down. We're just going to have a post-mortem where we talk about the entire weekend. I know, Scott. Episode 7 already. And I'm starting this particular Grim Gazette on a very unique note. We're going to be talking. We need to talk about Christian Bale because it was brought to my attention, everybody, that some people did not realize that Christian Bale does not sound like Batman. That Christian Bale actually has an accent. I found this clip. And I think we should now hear what Christian Bale actually sounds like. Here we go.
So good at adapting these accents. In fact, so much that there's people that think that you speak with an American accent all the time. Is that surprising to you?
I'm very appreciative of that. It's allowed me to play significantly more roles than I ever would have been playing had I not been able to do that. But I do live here in America. Also, English are exposed much more to American films and therefore how Americans sound than the other way around, which is why I suppose even my own kids do like the worst English accents ever, because a lot of Americans are only exposed to period films, largely English period films, where no one sounds like that anymore in England. So even though they've been brought up with me, my kids still go, ooh, hello. Oh. So I think we have something more of an advantage for me, I'll speak for myself, growing up in England, watching American movies.
So, yeah, Bale does not sound like Batman. Bale's a bloke. He's a bloke, eh? I mean, if anyone should be doing a Guy Ritchie film, it's bloody Christian Bale. Why he hasn't done one yet, I don't bloody know. I'll tell you why. Because Statham's already there. Not Jason Statham, but Jason Statham, right? Can Mark be Batman? Oh, man. Vi, I would not want to hear that. He'd be like, I guess it would go like this. What are you? I'm fucking Batman, you the fuck? Oh, man. He'd make a great Batman, though. Oh, jeez. But yeah, no, that was another thing, too. Even though it was a bit of a draw, the guy that was playing Anthony Falcone, it was probably... I think people were willing to give the actor who played Anthony Falcone a pass in The Dark Knight. No, it was Batman Begins. Batman Begins. Yeah, he just passed recently, I think. The actor's name was Tom Wilkinson. And if you don't recognize the name, Tom Wilkinson was a British character actor in the film. I mean, he's a terrific. You would know if you saw him. He was in one of the Mission Impossible movies. He was Anthony Falcone. Oh no, sorry, he was Carmine Falcone in Batman Begins. But he's doing his best British. He's doing his best. He's doing the best he can, trying to sound like a gangster. But I mean. The British polish kept creeping in, but he's that good of an actor. You just don't care. You just do not care. He was also in The Full Monty. If you've never seen The Full Monty, that's a great British piece right there. The Full Monty. I freaking love that movie. All right, so I thought it'd be good when we come out of the box swinging, and we talk about we talk about Christian Bale. So first mystery taken care of. Now let's go to now this is an old article. And there's a reason I'm bringing it up. This is an old weird news article that is actually part of a trio. And I think this is a great way to start off the 7th episode of the Grim Gazette. Former manager of Department of Defense Aerospace Threat Program, UFOs are real. Something extraordinary was revealed today. Former high-level officials and scientists with deep black experience who have always remained in the shadows came forward on one platform. These insiders have long-standing connections to government agencies which may have programs investigating unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, otherwise known as UFOs or unidentified flying objects. The team includes a 25-year veteran of the CIA's Directorate of Operations, a Lockheed Martin program director for advanced systems at Skunk Works, and a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence. Today marked the official launch of To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, the TTS-AAS, an innovative public benefit corporation which will advance research into unexplained phenomena and develop related technology. It has established 3 synergetic divisions: science, aerospace, and entertainment. We believe there are discoveries within our reach that will revolutionize the human experience, said company president and CEO Tom DeLonge. Please see my previous story released yesterday for backgrounds on today's announcement, which was live streamed and is archived on the company website. According to a TTS-AAS statement, its team members, who have been operating under the shadows of top secrecy for decades, believe that there is sufficient credible evidence of UAP that proves exotic technologies exist that could revolutionize the human experience. This could represent the beginning of a trend towards new openness on the part of the U.S. government. These people know more than any of us, and they will be releasing important data on an unidentified aerial phenomenon in the future. As an investigative reporter with a long-standing interest in this subject, who has worked with a few Academy team members in the past, I was shown some of this data at a meeting with them on October 4th. Hey, how you doing there, Scythe? You came just in time. Present for that 4-hour meeting was Luis Elizondo, who ran an important program at the DoD, or the Department of Defense. Elizondo is a senior career intelligence officer whose experience includes working with the U.S. Army, Department of Defense, the National Counterintelligence Executive, and the Director of National Intelligence. He served as the Director of the National Program Special Management Staff in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. He is also the former Director of Programs to investigate unidentified aerial threats for the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Lou will architect partnerships with some very sensitive places to help protect us and the technology involved, so may achieve for you the extraordinary, DeLonge said at today's event. Lou, the nickname for Lewis, has resigned from his post at the DoD literally the day before we met. I was able to verify who he was and what his tasks were at the Pentagon. He received the highest commendations from his superior. I was told that important unclassified data and documentation are expected to be released through the Academy's online community of interest, in collaboration with the U.S. government, which will be set up soon. I asked him if these unidentified objects were considered to be threats. They did not exhibit overt hostility, he said, but something unexplained is always assumed to be a potential threat until we are certain it isn't. On the bright side, I believe we are closer than ever before in understanding of how it operates, he told me. At the end of the event, Elizondo explained his work this way. I am accustomed to being involved in close-hold, nuanced programs involving national security. This includes being a counterintelligence special agent, a case officer, and an intelligence practitioner. However, by far the most interesting effort I was involved with was the topic of advanced aerial threats. He stated that he ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focused on unidentified aerial technologies. His job at TTS-AAS will be to work as a liaison and interlocutor. I've never seen that word before. Interlocutor. In the collection of this information for the science division, allowing us to collect facts for analysis. How will this be done? One way is through the COI, which will provide a platform for the detection and triangulation of phenomena events in real time, and allows two-way communication between the public and our team regarding this information. As a result of his position managing the DoD program for almost a decade, Lou said, I learned that the phenomenon is indeed real. In short, less than 2 weeks after leaving the Pentagon, Luis Elizondo confirmed that UFOs are real. They exist, and they have been officially documented. Can anyone argue with this fact now, given where this man comes from and what he knows? Former high-ranking DoD official who only left his position last week has confirmed that an official UFO program exists, answering questions so many have debated, speculated about for decades. It is very important to understand that Lou does not speak for the DoD, since he is no longer employed there. He speaks independently as part of the TTS Academy. Lou also stated, "We are planning to provide never-before-released footage from real U.S. government systems, not blurry amateur photos, but real data and real videos. And even more significant, we are inviting our government colleagues and friends in defense to participate regularly with their findings." This is a long, wow. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're near the end. Didn't realize how long this was. Another member of the team, Stephen Justice, an experienced aerospace engineer, explained that he will use scientific discoveries about the travel of UAP through space, demonstrating almost unimaginable technology to develop technology that they can change the world. Steve recently retired as program director for advanced systems at Lockheed Martin after a 31-year career in the Skunk Works. "How dare we think the physics we have today is all that there is," he told me in an interview a few days ago. "The opportunity here, as he sees it, is to stand in the future and look back." Steve's objective is to harvest this advanced technology to build a vehicle that will allow for almost instantaneous travel through land, air, oceans, and space by engineering the fabric of space-time. Such a vehicle could also float like something from science fiction. Steve says we had glimpses of the science that could make this possible. It's not outside the realm of possibility if the necessary resources are in place. TTS Academy member Chris Mellon served as Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence for 2 administrations, and early in his career drafted the legislation that established the U.S. Spec Ops Command at a time when terrorism was not yet on the radar. He presented an overview of a 2004 incident involving an aircraft carrier, USS Nimitz, which detected on 2 separate radars. 2 F-18s approached. The 4 aviators see that the object had no wings or exhaust. It's white, oblong, some 40 feet long, and perhaps 12 feet thick, he said. One pilot pursues the craft while his wingman stays high. Pilots are astonished to see the object suddenly reorient itself towards the approaching F-18. In a series of discrete tumbling maneuvers that seem to defy the laws of physics, the object takes a position directly behind the approaching F-18. The lengthy event occurred in broad daylight off the California coast. Gun camera footage was taken. At one point, the object was hovering at 80,000 feet, dropping at supersonic speeds, and came to a complete stop at 50 feet above the ocean. More F-18s are dispatched, but with similar results, Mellon stated. The secret machine easily evades the F-18s. Dozens of military personnel aboard the various planes and ships involved are privy to these interactions. Tom DeLonge's final message today sums up the position of all involved. No one person, one government, or one hidden institution should own this information and technology. The TTS Academy intends to release game-changing information of the type interested people have been seeking for a long time. The fact is, we might not necessarily be alone, Luis Elizondo says. Now is the time to move forward and try to answer some of life's deepest mysteries. So this is an old article about when, they came out and they said they made this this very bold statement. Now, here was the thing. I remember when it came out officially, and people were like, okay. It was like almost like a footnote. We just went breezing by. Now, it probably has something to do with the fact that we were all, yeah, that was pretty long, wasn't it, V? Vi. I'm sorry. Anyway, now I'm sounding like the guys from Galaxy Quest. Anyway.
That's what she said.
Thank you. That's what she wanted me to say. But I was going to say that the thing is, I think because, the government finally came out and said, yeah, we have filmed evidence of, UAPs. They didn't want to say UFOs, but they kept going back to UAPs. Yeah, you know me. And we were in the middle of a pandemic. So people were like, okay, great. Yeah, UAPs are real. Could someone please come up with a vaccine now for this pandemic? I think there were bigger fish to fry at the time that they came out. And this is an even older document compared to when all this hit the fan. But I think the takeaway from this article is the contributor, Leslie Keene, I believe they wanted to make sure that it was clear that she wasn't talking, or he wasn't talking, to like dudes who, you know, were living on their own somewhere in the Ozarks. You know, these are people that worked in high operations, skunk works, you know, Lockheed Martin, CIA, Department of Defense. I think that was the point of this. So I wanted to start with that one so we could get to this one. Let's see. Pentagon report finds no evidence of alien visits or hidden spacecraft. This happened only like last week. Claims about secret government programs, reverse engineering, extraterrestrial technology, and based on circular reporting and hearsay investigators found. And this is the Washington Post, everybody. A lengthy Defense Department review of U.S. government activities related to unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or unidentified aerial phenomenon, UAPs, more commonly known as UFOs, have found no evidence that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited Earth or that authorities have recovered crashed alien spacecraft and are hiding them in public. So if you're wondering where I'm going with this, it's like, I believe that what's going on here is that the government officials that are talking about UAPs or UFOs, they're talking about exactly what the term is referring to. Unidentified anomalous phenomenon, or identified aerial phenomenon, or unidentified flying objects. Just because something is a UFO or a UAP, it does not necessarily mean that it's alien, that it's ET, that it is, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It could be just something that is flying and unidentified. So let's continue. The review, publicly released Friday, covered all U.S. investigatory efforts from 1945 to the present and examined classified and unclassified government archives. It was unequivocal in its conclusions, finding no evidence that any U.S. government investigation, academic-sponsored research, or official review panel had confirmed that any sightings of a UAP represented extraterrestrial technology. Reports of flying objects or suspected alien craft usually turned out to have thank you. Turned out to have explanations. I'm just going to skip that SAT word. They were ordinary objects and phenomenon and result of misidentification, sometimes by well-meaning witnesses who thought they had spotted something otherworldly.
Emotional damage.
The report is likely to be scrutinized and rejected by independent investigators, former U.S. personnel, and conspiracy theorists who appear convinced that the government is hiding evidence of alien life and has constructed an elaborate set of classified programs devoted to reverse engineering their technology. Last summer, a former intelligence officer who had served on a Pentagon UAP task force sparked headlines and speculations when he told Congress that the government had a secret repository of downed alien spacecraft and corpses. The new report, compiled by the Defense Department's All-Domain Anomaly Research Office, AARO, directly addressed those allegations. AARO determined, based on all information provided to date, that claims involving specific people, known locations, technological tests, and documents allegedly involved in or related to the reverse engineering of extraterrestrial technology are inaccurate, the official stated in a 60-plus page unclassified document. Even before the report was published, critics of the office had questioned whether investigators would be hamstrung by a lack of access to highly classified material, but the office devised a secure process, according to the report, working with government agencies to review so-called special access programs that interviewees had identified either by their supposed code names or descriptions. I love this graphic. The office investigators were granted full access to all pertinent, sensitive U.S. government programs, and when companies and contractors were identified, the office interviewed senior-level executives, scientists, and engineers in those organizations, the report stated. Investigators had access to a wide range of government departments and agencies, including the Defense Department and the military services, the intelligence community, including records held by the CIA, the Energy Department, Department of Homeland Security, and National Archives. That's great. The investigators seemed to anticipate that their work would face a skeptical audience. They argued that the public's imagination and misunderstanding about alien visitations has been fueled by an industry of TV shows, books, movies, and social media that repeat the same extravagant claims about spaceships and hangars and alien bodies in basements. Now, to be fair, the Grim Gazette is only on episode 7. We have not gotten into like the Hangar 18 or any of that kind of
Aliens among us
kind of thing. We haven't done that yet. We might be doing it tonight. But and here's the thing. I'm the guy that would tell you, do I believe in UAPs or UFOs? I believe, yeah, we have been visited. I believe that was when you have people sharing the same stories, sharing the same the same kind of
UFO experience.
I think that the similarities are pretty hard to coordinate. One of the problems that you have with UFOs is the same problem you have with the paranormal, in that people have been going out of their way to fake evidence, particularly with UFOs, and we have debunked some of that on here before. But the other reason that I truly believe that the government could not keep this a secret is because I've worked in the government. I have seen so much behind the scenes that I'm like, January 6th didn't shock me. January 6th did not really shock me, because that's how razor thin, and then you look at the people. I mean, when you look at some of the people that are elected into office, you're like, these people are they've got state secrets. They've got state secrets. I mean, it is amazing to me. It is absolutely astounding to me, particularly under the previous administration, how government still continues to run.
No, God!
Exactly. Yes, Scythe.
No, God,
Yes.
please, no!
Yes.
No!
No, yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
I honestly believe, because I've dealt with the paperwork, I've dealt with the bureaucracy, there's no way they'd be able to keep this secret. They just could not do it. And that is not to disrespect people who work in the government. I want to make sure that is clear, because I've worked with the government. And while it was at some times an exercise in futility, at other times it was really rewarding. I loved working with code. I loved being able to take United States government developed open source software and be able to say, hey, you know what? NASA put this piece of software together. Have it. Tinker with it. Have a good time with it. I just find that cool. I just find that insanely cool. And I understand. It's just bureaucracy is a wild concept, man. It's a wild concept. So that's why I don't think that the government is lying when they go, yeah, we don't have anything like that, because they couldn't keep it secret. They just could not keep it secret. They could not. Let us continue, shall we? Okay. A constant theme in popular culture involves a particular persistent narrative that the United States government, or a secret organization within it, recovered several off-world spacecraft and extraterrestrial biological remains, and that it has conspired since the 1940s to keep this effort hidden from the United States Congress and the American public, the report stated. They're talking about the X-Files. They're talking about the X-Files. Let's go. Government personnel are some of the most ardent believers in this idea. The investigators interviewed about 30 people, including some who had worked on official UAP research programs, who claimed to have insight into the alleged U.S. government involvement in off-world technology exploitation, the report said. In some cases, they'd stumbled upon actual, highly classified programs that had nothing to do with aliens. Many have sincerely misinterpreted real events or mistaken sensitive U.S. programs for which they were not cleared as having been related to UAP or extraterrestrial exploitation. Tim Phillips, the AARO acting director, told reporters. Their conclusions were based on a sort of classified game of telephone in which whispers of secret programs, often based on hearsay, circulated for years in the military and intelligence community. We saw a small group of people who knew each other, who all cited their observations as the purpose for their beliefs or for their observations, Phillips said. Some of those people that worked on UAP research under a Pentagon program in the early 2000s that aimed to study next-generation aerospace technologies. It had a powerful backer in then Senator Harry M. Reid, who had an abiding interest in unidentified flying objects and hailed from the home state of Area 51, the secret Air Force Base testing grounds that holds a central place in UFO lore. According to the report, UAP research was not part of the program's mission, but it ventured in that territory, examining reports of paranormal activity, creatures, and interdimensional phenomenon. In 2017, the work of that outfit became public, along with videos taken from military aircraft that seemed to show UFOs flying extraordinary speeds to the astonishment of military pilots. That exposure ushered in a new era of openness in the military and intelligence community, which began to examine UAPs, which some thought might be drones or hypersonic weapons, as a potential threat to national security and commercial aviation. Military personnel have since been encouraged to report sightings. Some have later been attributed to foreign aircraft, surveillance balloons, atmospheric anomalies, or simply debris floating in the air. Confusion appeared to permeate the statements from witnesses who spoke to the AARO investigators. Some of the program's code names that interviewees provided turned out not to exist, or could be traced back to defunct entities, the report had found out. One person mistakenly identified a private UAP research program as being run by the U.S. government. Another program brought to AARO's attention, Kona Blue, was alleged to be a Homeland Security Department effort to cover up the retrieval and exploitation of non-human biologics, the report found. In other words,
Alien buddies.
well, that's good music for it too. The origins of these suspicions, investigators found, traced back to some of the earlier Pentagon researchers backed by Reid, who had strayed into studying UAPs. When the Defense Intelligence Agency canceled that effort in 2012 due to a lack of merit, its supporters proposed that Homeland Security fund a new version to investigate paranormal research, including human consciousness anomalies, the report found. Human
Consciousness anomalies.
Okay. The report found. The program, which they proposed calling Kona Blue, also would reverse engineer off-world spacecraft that they hoped to acquire. The Kona Blue backers assumed that biological evidence of aliens was already in the government's possession, the report found. Homeland Security leaders ultimately rejected the proposal. The AARO investigators looked into a number of specific claims, including that the CIA had been working with a company to examine alien spacecraft, that a former senior U.S. military officer had touched the surface of a spacecraft and had seen one floating in a building, presumably a military or contractor facility, and that alien technology remains in the possession of companies, not the government, as part of an effort to keep it away from congressional overseers. Other interviewees provided accounts that their own UAP sightings, as well as claims that they had seen military personnel loading containers of spacecraft onto planes, or overheard scientists discussing the presence of alien beings during the testing of specialized materials. Others claimed that people who knew about the classified activities had signed non-disclosure agreements with the provision that any breach of security was
punishable by death.
The AARO investigators found no evidence to substantiate these accounts and were able to dispute or debunk some of them. A former military officer who was said to have touched the spacecraft denied this claim when investigators asked him about it. Couldn't remember the conversation in question and speculated that the issue might stem from a misunderstanding. He had, in fact, once touched an F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter, an aircraft so secret Nevada folklore labeled it as a UFO, according to an Air Force publication from 2018. The person who claimed that aliens were present during the materials test had likely misunderstood the conversation, which probably referred to a test and evaluation unit that had a nickname with alien connotations at the specific installation mentioned, the report said. I picked some long articles this go around, sorry. In another instance, an interviewee who claimed to have seen an object exhibiting strange characteristics was probably correct. Based on the specific information provided, the person who had likely witnessed the test of a new military platform that was not related in any way to the exploitation of off-world technology, the report found. The AARO investigators even managed to get their hands on what private investigators alleged was a sample from an alien craft. On further inspection, it turned out to be a manufactured terrestrial alloy, does not represent off-world technology, or possess any exceptional qualities, the report found. Sample contents were magnesium, zinc, and bismuth. Excuse me. With other trace elements, such as lead. People alleged to have participated in efforts to conceal alien technology, including executives at companies said to be participating in the classified work, denied this when they questioned by investigators, attesting to the truthfulness of their statements for the record. The Washington Post has previously interviewed 6 individuals who claimed to have information about U.S. government and private sector crash retrieval and reverse engineering activities. While the AARO report does not identify the people its investigators interviewed, several of their accounts match the detailed claims of those who spoke to the Post. The Post chose not. The Post chose not to publish these accounts because the individuals provided no evidence to corroborate their claims. We're going to get to that in a second. Their information was almost exclusively based on second or third-hand statements, usually from people the interviewees declined to identify. In some instances, congressional investigators who had interviewed the individuals believed they had probably mistaken actually classified programs for those related to UAPs and had reached conclusions about U.S. government activity that weren't supported by direct evidence. So that last paragraph right there sums it up. Government is basically an expensive nursing home, but the elderly have power. Wow.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Well played. And thank you for the hydrate, by the way, second in. But that last paragraph, I want to read that again. The Post chose not to publish these accounts because the individuals provided no evidence to corroborate their claims. That first sentence and everything that follows after that, that is the mantra that I follow when it comes to pursuing the paranormal. You can tell me all about the lady in white. You can tell me all about the man in black. You can tell me all about the voices in the basement. But unless I capture it, unless I get something to look at in the footage that I capture and bring back from a site, it isn't evidence of the paranormal. And this is something that Phil and I are constantly locking horns about. We are constantly locking horns about. The value of personal experiences. They're fine, but that is not evidence. Personal experiences are not evidence. And all the folklore that you hear, all the different things, that is also not evidence. Perfect. Now, if you want to focus on something concerning UFOs and UAPs, look up the name Travis Walton. And if you want to go even further, you can watch a film called Fire in the Sky. I was explaining this to Pip today. Fire in the Sky is kind of like a paranormal investigation in that the first 70 minutes of the film are a super slow burn. It is an investigation into what happened to Travis Walton. And it's everybody's story. It's everyone's perspective. It's very talk heavy. All right. And it kind of gets you wondering. The last 20 minutes is the story of Travis Walton as told by Travis Walton's perspective. And those last 20 minutes of Fire in the Sky are absolutely terrifying. It is some of the most terrifying footage I have ever seen. I rank up those 20 minutes to, scenes from Train to Busan, from Goijang Haunted Asylum, from the original Conjuring film. I mean, that last 20 minutes is absolutely intense. But is Travis Walton's, do I believe something happened to Travis Walton? Yes. Is his account and his and the movie's depiction of the account, is that enough evidence for me to believe wholeheartedly that people are being abducted and experimented on? No. But is it a story that I think has some kind of credence? Since there is no evidence, that is hard for me to back. But do I think Travis Walton experienced something? Yeah, I do. Every time you listen to him, there is a thread in the way he talks about what happened to him. And something happened to him. Something did happen to him. I believe that. And I would also go forward and say something I thought was very profound. When Katrina Weidman was interviewing Travis Walton, and she asked him point blank, she said, so how accurate was the final sequence where we see it from your point of view? He said, well, it's Hollywood. They took some liberties. They kind of tweaked it here. They kind of tweaked it there. But what you felt when you were watching that final sequence, what you felt, that fear that you felt, that's what I was feeling the moment my eyes opened and I was on the ship. That's pretty profound. That's pretty profound in my opinion. And I do think that there is something to that story. I do think there is something to that story. So yeah, I wish there was some physical evidence that we had from it, but we don't. But it is one of the more compelling stories when it comes to alien abductions and things like that. The story of Travis Walton. So if you are curious about it, if you want to see a movie based on it, the movie is called Fire in the Sky. It's quite good. And if you want to find out more about Travis Walton, just look up Travis Walton. And to be more clear in your search, do Travis Walton UFO abduction, and you'll get the full story. So I read those two stories for you so I could read you this one. Roswell UFO sightings can be explained by classified programs, Pentagon reveal in new report. And here is one of the picks that I'm sure that people have been talking about. That's one. When you hear people talking about the the various things that pilots are seeing in their gun sights, this is one of the things that they see. Now I want to make sure. Oh, I think this is just a rehash. This is a rehash of the picture. Yeah. It's basically the AARO, and they're talking about the different stuff, and it's basically the same thing. If we had a national security site, there are objects being recorded that are. Oh wait, maybe this is a different one. This is a different one. It's much shorter. So there's that. The Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, set up in 2022 to investigate and record reports of unknown objects, examine government investigations from as far back as 1945, Roswell, but found there was no evidence of U.S. having alien bodies or technology. In this report, said many sightings of UFOs where people unknowingly saw the testing or use of classified technology. So this is slightly different. Claims of an alien spacecraft crashing near New Mexico in Roswell in 1947, for example, were consistent with Project Mogul, a classified program using microphones flown on high-altitude balloons in a bid to detect Soviet nuclear bomb tests. The AARO said all investigative efforts at all levels of classification concluded that most sightings were ordinary objects and phenomenon, and the rest of it misidentification. Most UFO reports remain unsolved, the AARO said, but with more data, most of them could be identified and resolved as ordinary objects or phenomenon. The AARO has revealed plans for portable UFO detection kits to collect more data on sightings. Acting Director Timothy Phillips said the new kits currently being tested in Texas would have an array of sensors that fit inside a protective case. If we have a national security site and there are objects being reported that are within restricted airspace or within a maritime range or within the proximity of one of our spaceships, we need to understand what that is, he told CNN. And so that's why we're developing sensor capability that we can deploy in reaction to reports. The system is called Gremlin and could be deployed to a site with many reports of UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, the Pentagon's terms for UFOs. So that's interesting right there. That's interesting. Because that's legit. That's legit. Just because it's a UFO doesn't mean it's from outer space. It could be a drone. It could be alien craft. It could be not alien craft. It could be a foreign, a foreign aircraft. It could be something of this earth. So, is that a sonogram? Sonograms work a little differently. But I do think that is interesting that they are trying to work a little harder. They're trying to work a little harder to actually identify whatever these UAPs or UFOs are. And I do think for national defense, yes, that's important. But again, do I think that the United States government, or pretty much any government, does any government really have the ability to hide UFOs? I'm just going to throw this out there. And I'm not even going to use the previous administration. I'm going to go back even further. They were not able to keep the secret between the then sitting president and an intern secret. And something that intimate, you would think that the players involved would be able to keep their mouths shut, but they didn't. And I really think that there are too many people involved just to keep quiet this kind of thing. And that was, and I'm talking about something that happened back in the 90s. You look at the technology today, you look at all the different ways. There was somebody on a Call of Duty Discord server sharing top secret information. And here's the thing, people were shocked about that, but I was like, are we not shocked even more so that this kid, this literally 18, 19-year-old kid had top secret clearance? And on top of that, he was openly taking notes and transcribing stuff that wasn't supposed to leave the room, but he had a pad and a pencil, and whomever was there was like, yeah, that's cool. It's a top secret facility. It's not cool. But there you have it. So there's my defense for the United States government. No, I don't think that they are harboring. Do they have secrets? Sure, they've got secrets. Of course they got secrets. That's why we have clearance. Do I think they're hiding UFOs? No. Okay. let's move on to some good old fashioned to some even weirder stuff. This story I love. I absolutely love this. Long lost silent film from 1923 resurfaces in Omaha. A long lost silent film from 1923 will be shown publicly for the first time in decades. Actually, when you think about it, within 100 years. After being discovered at an auction. Gary Huggins of Kansas City said he went to an auction in Omaha last year to look for rare or antique films. There was a distributor that had been in Omaha for decades that had gone out of business a while ago, and this auction house had some of their films, and so I drove up Just for that, just to see what was up there, Huggins told WWT-TV. He paid $20 for a stack of film reels because one of these included pieces was an old cartoon that caught his eye. It was the best $20 I have ever invested for sure, Huggins said. He used his projector to go through the stack and see what he had purchased, and was surprised to see Clara Bow, one of the biggest stars of the silent film era. David Sten, a Hollywood historian and Bow's official biographer, said the real Huggins purchase was The Pill Pounder, a comedy short that was thought to be long lost. When someone told me, "Would you be interested in a print of The Pill Pounder?" I assumed they were making fun of me because I thought, would I be interested? It would be a miracle. And it is a miracle, Sten said. He said the film starred a 17-year-old Bow and is the oldest of her works to have been rediscovered. Sten, who purchased the film from Huggins, said film strips in the 1920s were made using nitrate, an unstable and combustible chemical. So I thought, we'll never find this film, Sten said. The film reel was in good condition, and Sten paid to have it restored. It will be shown on the big screen for the first time in 101 years.
I suggest you let that one marinate.
At the San Francisco Silent Film Festival in April. This is why I do what I do, though I never dared dream this one would resurface. Stein wrote on social media, miracles really do happen. That's an amazing story to me. That is an absolutely amazing story. I think that is so cool. I really do. All right. Moving on to the weird. A small earthquake and Moodus noises are nothing new for one Connecticut town. And then you see this graveyard. Oof. Oofa. All right. Let's zoom in a little bit here so that you all can enjoy this with me. East Hampton, Connecticut. Donna Lindstrom was lying in bed and looking at her phone Wednesday morning when she heard a loud bang that rattled her 19th century house in the central Connecticut town of East Hampton. Soon, the 66-year-old retired delivery driver and dozens of other town residents were on social media discussing the latest occurrence of strange explosive sounds and rumblings known for hundreds of years as the Moodus noises. It was like a sonic boom, Lindstrom said. It was a real short jolt and loud. It felt deep, deep, deep. It was indeed a tiny earthquake with magnitude of 1.7, according to the United States Geological Survey. Robert Thornton, an earth sciences professor at the University of Connecticut, said booms, rumblings, and rattlings have been recorded in the East Hampton area, including the nearby village of Moodus, for centuries. Dating back well before a larger earthquake recorded on May 16, 1791, knocked down stone walls and chimneys. In fact, Moodus is short for Macamudus, which means a place of bad noises in the Algonquin dialects once spoken in the area. Local high schools even nicknamed their team the Noises in honor of that history. It was Tunnel Girl. Well done. There you go. Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right. This one makes me a little nervous. It really does, because, in December we're supposed to be flying, but woo! Indonesia, 2 pilots fall asleep for 28 minutes during Batik Air flight. The younger of the 2 pilots had recently had twins and moved house, and was said to have struggled to sleep in the days before the flight. Whoo! 2 pilots fell asleep for almost 30 minutes during a passenger flight over Indonesia, according to a report. The incident occurred on the 25th of January this year on a Batik Air return flight from Haluleo International Airport in Indonesia's southeast Sulawesi region to Soekarno-Hatta Airport in the capital, Jakarta. I knew Jakarta. Both co-pilots, 28-year-old man and 32-year-old man, fell asleep for about 28 minutes, according to the preliminary report from Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee. When they woke up, they found the aircraft was not on the correct flight path. Shocker that. According to the report, the younger of the pilots, the second in command, had been struggling to sleep lately after his wife gave birth to twins. The family had also recently moved house. The initial leg of the flight out from Indonesian capital went off without incident. The younger pilot slept for about 30 minutes before waking up for the descent. After landing, the report said that the men ate instant noodles in the cockpit before taking back off again. Then, with 153 passengers and 4 flight attendants on board, the pilots flew to 36,000 feet, at which point the 32-year-old told his co-pilot to take control of the plane, saying he needed a rest. The younger co-pilot agreed, but during the flight inadvertently fell asleep as well, with both seemingly asleep for approximately 241 miles, according to the report. Jakarta Air Traffic Control repeatedly tried to contact the cockpit of the Batik Air A320 flight. However, they received no response for 28 minutes until the older pilot woke up. He then woke up his co-pilot, corrected the flight path, and they were able to label the plane to Jakarta safely. Batik Air has been approached for comment. Wow. Woo! Oh my God! And I like to travel. That's the worst bit. I like to travel. Okay. This one, of course, I will never get on a plane. Yes. Welcome to the Grim Gazette, everybody. Okay. Here we go. This one made me pause. And I believe this was a submission from Secondhand, if I recall correctly. Yes, you can submit stuff to the Grim Gazette, and I just saw Vi dropped in the Grim Gazette for the Grim Gazette, some Indian ghost hunters. We'll be looking at that next week. No, it wasn't. I thought it was, but no, it wasn't, it turns out. Okay. I think I must have found this then. Woman chats to dead mother using AI with spooky results. After 4 years of struggling to cope with the grief following her mother's death, actress Serene Malas turned to an AI tool that claims to simulate the dead. Okay, fine.
Do you want hobo goblins? Because this is how you get hobo goblins.
I'm not sure about this one. But here we go. After her mother's death, Serene Malas was desperate for an outlet for her grief. When you're weak, you'll accept anything, she says, and that's very true. That's very, very true. The actress was separated from her mother, Nadja, after fleeing Syria, their home country, to move to Germany in 2015. In Berlin, Serene gave birth to her first child, a daughter called Ishtar, and she wanted more than anything for her mother to meet her. But before they had a chance, tragedy struck. Nadja died unexpectedly from kidney failure in 2018 at the age of 82. She was a guiding force in my life, Serene said of her mother. She taught me how to love myself. The whole thing was cruel because it happened suddenly. I really, really wanted her to meet my daughter, and I wanted to have that last reunion. The grief was unbearable, said Serene. You just want any outlet, she adds, for all those emotions. If you leave it there, it just starts killing you. It starts choking you. I wanted that last chance to speak to her. After 4 years of struggling to process her loss, well, that's a long time for loss, Serene turned to Project December, an AI tool that claims to simulate the dead. Users fill in short online form with information about the person they've lost, including their age, relationship to the user, and a quote from that person. The responses are then fed into an AI chatbot powered by OpenAI's GPT-2, an early version of the large language model behind ChatGPT. This generates a profile based on the user's memory of the deceased person. Such models are typically trained on a vast array of books, articles, and text from all over the internet to generate responses to question in a manner similar to a word prediction tool. The responses are not based on factual accuracy. Okay, I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that again. Such models are typically trained on a vast array of books, articles, and text
from all over the internet
to generate responses to questions in a manner similar to a word prediction tool. The responses are not based on
factual accuracy.
Okay. At a cost of $10, £7, 80 pence, users can message the chatbot for about an hour. For Serene, the results of using the chatbot were spooky. There were moments that I felt were very real, she said. There were also moments where I thought anyone could have answered that this way. Imitating her mother, the messages from the chatbot referred to Serene by her pet name, which she had included in the online forum. Asked if she was eating well and told her that she was watching her. I'm a bit of a spiritual person. I felt this is a vehicle, Serene says. My mom could drop a few words in telling me that it's really me or it's just someone pretending to be me. I wouldn't be able to tell. I think there were moments like that. Project December has more than 3,000 users, the majority of whom have used it to imitate the deceased loved one in a conversation. Jason Rohrer, the founder of that service, said users are typically people who have dealt with the sudden loss of a loved one. Most people who use Project December for this purpose have their final conversation with this dead loved one in a simulated way and then move on, he says. I mean, there are very few customers who keep coming back and keep the person alive. He says there isn't much evidence that people get hooked on the tool and struggle to let go. However, there are concerns, going back to what Lizard was saying, however, there are concerns that such tools can interrupt the natural process of grieving. Billy Dunlevy, a therapist accredited by the British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy, says the majority of grief therapy is about learning to come to terms with the absence, learning to recognize that the new reality or the new normal. So this could interrupt that. In the aftermath of grief, some people retreat and become isolated, the therapist says. She adds, you get this vulnerability coupled with this potential power to sort of create this ghost version of a lost parent or a lost child or lost friends. And that could be really detrimental to people actually moving through their grief and getting better. There are currently no specific regulations governing the use of AI technology to imitate the dead. The world's first comprehensive legal framework on AI is passing through their final stages of the European Parliament before it is passed into law, when it would enforce regulations based on the level of risk posed by different uses of AI. The Project December chatbot gave Serene some of the closure she needed, but she warned bereaved people to tread carefully. It's very useful and it's very revolutionary, she says. I was very careful not to get too caught up with it. I can see people easily getting addicted to using it, getting disillusioned by it, wanting to believe it to the point where it can go bad. I wouldn't recommend people getting too attached to something like that because it could be dangerous. Wow. Okay, where do we begin with this? So, first off, I do appreciate that that Sky News did in fact explain. Hi, Arelis, by the way, how you doing? I appreciate the fact that Sky News did in fact cover how ChatGPT and how these AI chatbots work. Now, Lizard says this feels weird. It feels unethical, and you're making money off this. Now, here's where it is not necessarily unethical. In fact, I'll go you one better. Let's compare. I said I was done talking about these two, but let's compare this to Satori and Cody. Yes, Satori and Cody. All right, let's compare these two. All right. First off, you are willingly giving like information about your deceased loved one, pet names, little facts like that, all these different things. You are willingly leading them over, or the Long Island medium. Yeah. Well, Story and Cody are going to fall into that category as well. You are paying a service knowing that this is an AI bot to create a chat bot that is based on what it knows and what you feed it. And this goes to a rule that you hear in both machine learning and AI. It's something called garbage in, garbage out. If you put bad information, or if you introduce a bunch of bad actors into an AI engine, it's going to create terrible results, right? If you don't give it enough information to process a hand, your hand's going to look like, your hand's going to look like an oven mitt. If you have bad information, bad data going into the routine, it's going to spit out crap. And that's one of the biggest issues concerning AI. It's a black box technology. Most of the time, the people that are working with it do not know how it gets all this information and gives you what it wants. It's not necessarily magic. It's just math that is so high on a quantum level, they don't quite understand how it's working. And that's the scariest part about working with black box technology, right? And in the case of this, it is not necessarily unethical because the people that are getting involved are saying, yes, I know I'm paying you money for this. Yes, I know that I'm giving this information. Yes, I know it's going towards an AI bot that is going to talk to me the way my mom or my dad used to talk to me, right? It's all above board. Everybody knows I'm paying you money to create a chatbot that is going to mimic my dead relative or my dead loved one. The thing is, a lot of people can differentiate AI from person. It's a text format on an unconscious level. That's true, Lizard. That's very true. And that is only getting better and better and better as we go. And that's the scary part. But is it unethical? No. Now, that is this Project December. Satori and Cody are doing roughly the same thing. But what they're doing is they're getting information from people. They have you fill out a form. You get to the Conjuring house. And then suddenly Satori and Cody are like, okay, we're gonna talk to the dead. And then out of the blue, this relative shows up. And as we saw when Project Fear was there and when Sam and Colby were there, all these people are showing up. But all the stuff that was supposed to be the personal information, like, oh, that's my granddad, that's my memories back, all this stuff, that kind of crap, they weren't finding out in the form. They were basically doing an internet scrub. And I'm surprised someone hasn't done that yet, Aurelis. I'm surprised someone hasn't done that yet. You'd have to be playing a long game to pull that off, though. Because I'm sure what they're doing is they're looking at credit card information. They're looking at all this private information or all this stuff that you fill out in the form and then they probably confirm it and then they move forward. But what Satori and Cody are doing is very unethical because it's manipulative. They do it to get a reaction, do it to get a rise out of people. I remember when I did my breakdown of that on Project Fear and the whole their visit to the Conjuring house, the people who were the most upset in the comments, and I'm sure some of you who had commented here, those of you who saw the comments, you probably noted that the people who were the most pissed were people who had relatives that had Alzheimer's or had some kind of mental deficiency in the later years. People who had lost loved ones to dementia and things like that. When they spelled out my memories back, that triggered some people in my chat. That triggered some people over on YouTube. And yeah, I can sort of see how and why that would trigger somebody. That's unethical because nobody that was going in there, whether it was Sam and Colby. Now, if Sam and Colby were in on it, shame on them. But I do not believe that Project Fear was in on it. And I've told you the reasons why. But Project Fear, they were being outright manipulated. And I found it very interesting that they had something for Tanner, they had something for Connor, they had something for Dakota and Chelsea. Alex, either A, his relatives hated him, or B, they couldn't find anything on him. But my whole thing about it is that was unethical versus what this service is doing. It's not unethical, but it is a slippery slope. It is a very slippery slope. take how people say bat crazy, awful things to people through text they never would say in person. Text is an issue because we have a barrier basis of sorts. We may forget we are talking to an AI and not move on mentally. Exactly, Lizard. And that's what she says here. I wouldn't recommend people get too attached to something like that. It could get dangerous. In fact, there was... Let me just see here real quick. I'm just going to pull it up.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Recent international Emmy winner Black Mirror, written by Charlie Brooker, returns with 3 brand new films. Martha and Ash are a young couple who moved to a remote cottage. The day after the move, Ash is killed returning the hire van. At the funeral, Martha's friend Sarah tells her about a new service that lets people stay in touch with the deceased. So I don't know if any of you watch Black Mirror, but this was a particularly good one. Well, I mean, they had a lot of good ones, but this one was a standout because Dominic Monaghan. Is it Dominic Monaghan? It's either Dominic Monaghan. Who was in the cast? I mean, Hallie Atwell's in it, so there you go. That you had me at Hallie Atwell, but trying to remember cast and crew. Here you go. It's Domhnall Gleeson. Domhnall Gleeson. That's who it was in this. Yeah, so it's Domhnall Gleeson and Hallie Atwell. And what they had done, what they did in this episode was they took all of this guy's social media posts, every little social media post, right? And they put it into an algorithm, and then this service created basically an Android. But the Android was running on software all based on his it was basically AI based off of social media. And it was a very haunting, dark look at what was going on in that episode. So if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's called Be Right Back, and it is in the first batch, the first season, first batch of episodes from Black Mirror. So yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. All right, this one I've kind of had in my back pocket, so I thought you would all dig this. Man legally named Deez Nuts arrested in domestic altercation. Oh, here we go. Here we go, everybody. Strap in. Strap in. This is going to be fine.
Who's this nut togger?
Here we go. Here we go. Wisconsin. Of course, Wisconsin. A Green Bay, Wisconsin man accused of using a deadly weapon along with misdemeanor battery and disorderly conduct has a very arresting
That's what
name.
she said.
That's because 42. Now I need somebody to play the got him. That's because the 42-year-old suspect's full name is Deez Nuts Lee Kroll. The defendant with the nutty name was arrested on March 5th after an incident involving a gun, according to CBS Green Bay affiliate WFRV TV. The police said 2 others who were put in the squad car before Kroll's arrest were identified as his daughter and her boyfriend. Police then took a shirtless Kroll into custody, according to a criminal report obtained by the smoking gun, which noted the elder Kroll appeared to be highly intoxicated on Deez Nuts. The daughter and her boyfriend told officers they had argued with Kroll on the phone earlier that evening over household chores and caring for the family's puppies. The couple say they found the residence locked when they showed up 2 hours later. The couple told police they were reportedly knocked on the door, and at one point, Kroll opened the door and punched his daughter in the shoulder. He reportedly later threatened his daughter and her boyfriend with a BB gun that they said looked like a pistol. Authorities say they interviewed Kroll. He kept talking in circles. Kroll was charged with misdemeanor battery and misdemeanor disorderly conduct and use of a dangerous weapon, which, if convicted, could net him a year in jail. It could net Deez Nuts a year in jail. And Deez Nuts were released on I'm just going to come out and just replace all the pronouns with Deez Nuts. Deez Nuts was released on a $1,000 bond on Wednesday and is next due in court on April 24th.
Oh, pitter patter, let's get at her.
Smoking Gun said Deez Nuts legally changed his first name from Derek to Deez Nuts in 2011, adding another E about 6 years later. Yeah, I know. Dictionary.com notes that Deez Nuts is an expression used to deliberately interrupt or divert a conversation. Website said it's not a literal reference to testicles, but a way to disrupt and show disrespect to whatever discussion is currently occurring. Although the term was first used by Dr. Dre's 1992 album, The Chronic, it really took hold in pop culture in 2015 when Brandy Olson, a 15-year-old Iowa native, ran for president under the name and ended up scoring surprisingly well in early polls compared with Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump. Now, this was submitted by Secondhand. And this is the one clip we have before we really get into the debunking. So let's take a look at this clip real quick and see what Secondhand has for us. Here we go. So 1 minute and 15. Let's have a listen. Oh, this is a joke clip? Oh, this is a joke clip. Okay.
God damn it. Fuck that shit.
What?
Fuck. No. Hell no.
What did you do, Kelly? You must have pissed it off. I heard y'all playing that noise back to the radio. Y'all thinking, what are y'all fooling with that damn thing for?
I told him to leave that fucking radio alone. I'm nervous now. Oh, fuck. Thomas.
I haven't seen anything. I hear it, but I haven't seen anything.
It sounds like a screech owl. That's me. That's totally me. Thank you, John. That's me when I see a spider. Oh, it's a bobcat. Okay, so it's a bobcat. It's a bobcat. Got it.
That's it.
The worst thing is that even though it sounds terrifying,
Bet I climb up in that fucking skidder in a minute.
where is this taking place? You kiss your mama with that mouth? Come on, bro. Jeez.
I bet I will.
It's like the sound's wrapping around. Over and check around that damn skidder. Maybe it's some bitch fly out over yonder.
Oh, this is Wisconsin. Okay.
Listen.
I ain't heard it in a few minutes. I'd go check around that darn skidder. See if it's old young. See if it bedded down or something.
Wow.
I ain't going over. Go over and check it.
See, the thing is, yeah, okay, so that scream does sound terrifying. And I wonder if they saw Deez Nuts. I wonder if they saw Deez Nuts out there. Okay, look, you.
You better settle down over there. I'm going to come talk to you.
Okay. Yeah, the problem is that, yes, it sounds terrifying, but bobcats are kind of terrifying. Any kind of wild cat, heck, that cat can be terrifying. Yes, you. You can be terrifying sometimes, particularly when he gets cranky. I said in a message, if you didn't know it was a bobcat, you would think something scary. Absolutely. Irrelevant, Wisconsin. I saw what you did there. Well done. There you go. But no, bobcats are not to be trifled with at all. At all. Okay, and because we had so much news to cover, this is our one clip. Because now we're getting to second half of the show. This will be part 2 on YouTube. And this is where, chat, I'm just going to come out and say it. This is going to hurt. I am going to actually have to debunk 2 of my favorite teams in the paranormal. It's going to hurt. I am going to show, though, one of the reasons why I love these guys so much. But I debated it and I said, you know what? I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off this one. So I will see you all in part 2. Let's just take a quick break. If you got to stretch. If you got to take your meds, take your meds. If you need to hydrate. And we'll be right back, everybody.